All right, came back from the holiday. Hope you had a nice 3-day weekend. You're still alive. So, today's first story is in California, and the Democrats are trying to pass it in the House too. Whitey gonna pay. San Francisco Reparations Committee proposes 5 million to each eligible black resident. I always find it funny when there are people out there who say, "Oh, what is white? How do you determine what white is? How, guys, you can't determine that. How can you even say that? What's white? Race is a social construct." Well, apparently it's not. Apparently, when it comes to being black and African and getting that money, and whitey going to pay, well, suddenly race is as real as this wooden table here. Whether While neither San Francisco nor California formally adopted the institution of chattel slavery, the tenets of segregation, white supremacy, and systematic repression and exclusion of black people were codified through legal and extralegal actions. Oh, yeah. She sniffs that money, baby. Oh, yeah. $5 million. San Francisco's Reparations Committee, oh my God, convened in 2021, has proposed that black longtime residents be given guys, race is a social construct. Not when it comes to that money. Black longtime residents be given 5 million in debt forgiveness due to the city's history of systemic repression. The San Francisco African American Reparations Advisory Committee's draft support addresses the public policies explicitly created to subjugate black people in San Francisco by upholding and expanding the intent and legacy of chattel slavery. California has never been a slave state. While neither San Francisco nor California formally adopted the institution of chattel slavery, the tenets of segregation, white supremacy, and systemic repression and exclusion of black people were codified through legal and extralegal actions, social codes, and judicial enforcement, the draft states. The specific recommended actions listed includes providing a one-time lump sum payment of 5 million to each eligible person, with the rationale being that a lump sum payment would compensate the affected population for the decades of harms that have been experienced. Oh, yeah, the chains, right? And will redress the economic and opportunity losses that Black San Franciscans have endured collectively as the result of both intentional decisions and unintended harms perpetuated by city policy. The draft also proposes that the income of African Americans be supplemented to reflect the area median income annually for at least 250 years. The AMI in San Francisco is $97,000. But guys, that's all money. See, now to me, I think the blacks in California are being very selfish. Guys, what about all of the undocumented immigrants coming to California? They need housing, they need food, they need cell phones, they need jobs. I think these black people are just being so selfish. You should just take all that money and give it to the immigrants. Because, the immigrants, they're coming from a war torn country, right? I mean, I guess the real question is who's the bigger victim? Racial disparities across all metrics. I just think that's very selfish. I mean, I think the blacks wanting to get money only for themselves and not other BIPOC people, I think that's kind of xenophobic, don't you think? Racial disparities across all metrics have led to a significant racial wealth gap in the city of San Francisco. By elevating income to match AMI, black people can better afford housing and achieve a better quality of life, the draft reads. It's also called for access to a spectrum of financial education from beginning to advanced. Well, I guess that would mean not spending all your food stamps on flaming hot Cheetos or not spending all your welfare on a $600 Yeezys, right? I guess that would be your sort of financial education. Yeah, I don't care. While traditional financial education emphasizes basic financial literacy, there is a need to provide a ladder of financial education that encompasses all levels of financial knowledge, they write, that resources match the broad spectrum of financial levels that exist throughout the community. To be eligible, one would have to be identified. Oh, here we go. Now, suddenly, race is real, right? They would have to be identified as Black, African American on public documents for at least 10 years, be 18 or older, and meet a variety of criteria that proves you have lived in San Francisco. Wow. By the failed war on drugs. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, the failed war on drugs. You like selling drugs, bro. It, that's always an interesting argument. That's always something I never understood. I don't understand how black people are not able to culturally. I don't know how black people can't pass a math test, yet they're able to count money. They're able to determine how many grams of drugs go into a little baggie. Are you telling me that every black drug dealer hires an accountant? How do they memorize the white faces on the green paper? That's math, right? So if I'm going to sell you a dime bag for, $20, how do they know what the 2 and 0 are? How do they distinguish a 20 from a 10 from a 5 from a single? Do they just memorize the dead white guys? Like how does that work? Maybe they just don't value math in school, and maybe they just value money. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Canada, trans activist who shut down gender critical event provides children with prosthetic penises. A university lecture in Canada intended to offer criticism of gender ideology was shut down this week after trans activists flooded the venue in protest. McGill University, located in Montreal, was set to host a talk by Robert Wintemute, a professor of human rights laws at King's College, on the topic of how transgender demands infringe on the rights of lesbian and bisexual women or the rights of children who might grow up to be LGBT adults. Yeah, so in other words, they're the bigger victim. They want access to your spaces. And it's kind of interesting to see piranhas. Piranhas eat one another, right? They become cannibals. So, if it wasn't so depressing, I might laugh. The event, titled The Sex versus Gender Identity Debate in the United Kingdom and the Divorce of LGB from T. Ooh. Drawing lines in the sand, was organized by McGill University Center for Human Rights and Legal Pluralism. The CHRLP website described the talk as a conversation on whether or not the law should be changed to make it easier for a transgender individual to change their legal sex from their birth sex, and about the problems this presents for women's only spaces in sports in which the individual's birth sex should take priority over their gender identity, regardless of their legal sex. Well, I mean, this is a part of what you asked for. Inclusivity has to stop at some point. Now they're trying to accept pedos. Oh, I'm sorry, maps. You got to draw lines in the sand somewhere, bro. If you don't stand for something, then you stand for nothing. On January 10th, over 200 protesters flooded the halls outside of the classroom where the lecture was scheduled to take place, holding signs and screaming at the attendees. One demonstrator held a sign comparing those who supported the debate to Adolf Hitler. Did you know the first trans surgery happened in the Weimar Republic? And both the surgeon and the person that it was performed on both committed suicide? I wonder why they don't talk about that. Critics slammed Wintemute as notoriously transphobic and trans exclusionary, and reportedly threw baking flour at him. Attempts were also allegedly made to interfere with the projector he had set up for his presentation. You need armed security. Wintemute, an alumnus of McGill University, was one of the original 29 signatories to a document that was foundational in establishing the notion of gender identity as a human right. So this is partially your fault. The Yogya Karta principles, designed to outline rights specific to sexual orientation and gender identity, were created during a gathering of academics and specialists in 2006. Principle 3 asserts that gender identity is self-defined and does not require any medical intervention to be recognized. It also states that official documents, such as passports and identification, should be altered to comply with a subjective gender identity. Good for you, Redux. In April 2021, Wintemute told The Critic that he had revised his views on the matter after seeing how women were being impacted by laws which prioritize gender identity over sex. Well, if you had talked to more conservatives, this would have been an easy thing to point out. This has been talked about for the past 5 years. What's going to happen when they want? This has been pointed out for 5 years. What's going to happen when they want access to women's spaces? What are we going to do then? What? What's going to happen when one group of people wants marriage? What's going to happen when they come for the kids? Oh, they won't come for the kids. They're coming for the kids. Wintemute stated that he failed to consider that men would take advantage of the legislation in order to access female-only spaces and said, a key factor to my change in opinion has been listening to women. Imagine being yelled at by somebody with this hair who looks like they belong on My Little Pony. Oh my God. Since expressing his concerns around the conflicts between sex and gender identity, Wintemute has been appointed as a trustee for UK-based charity LGB Alliance, a group which has received tremendous criticism from trans activists and was even taken to court last year by a charity which promotes the medical transitioning of minors. In response to the cancellation of his lecture, Wintemute told CBC that he was thankful to the protesters for providing a demonstration of the intimidation that women face when opposing gender identity policies. You could also say that any women in this crowd are essentially a form of Judas, right? Any women in this group that support this, when it comes back to each your own, this is what you get. You deserve this. If you stood on their side, it's time to pick a side. The protest against Wintemute's lecture was organized by a trans-identified male named Celeste Trianon. Trianon, a law student at the University of Montreal, describes himself as a trans feminine sapphic jurist and activist. Okay. In partnership with two student groups, Trianon organized the protest through a Facebook page where it was claimed that the debate would contribute directly to the systemic elimination of trans voices and lives worldwide. In the days leading up to, if you decide to kill yourself, that's on you, bro. That's a you problem. Not saying that other people don't have a hand in it, but when you do it yourself, ultimately that's your choice. In the days leading up to the planned protest, Trianon published an open letter which similarly argued that McGill University is actively contributing to the genocide of trans people across the world and attempted to portray both the LGB Alliance and Wintemute as participants in a far-right conspiracy. Every extra minute of airtime given to an anti-trans activist will contribute to the premature deaths of trans people worldwide. Well, if hearing words hurts your fifis and you kill yourself, you were too weak to live anyway. According to the Facebook profile, Trianon is the president of a nonprofit organization called Gender Euphoria, Euphorie dans le genre, which purports to give funding to trans-led networks and also has allocated resources to provide our team members with work allowance. The term gender euphoria has frequently been used to describe a state of sexual arousal upon wearing clothing associated with the opposite sex. Curiously, Gender Euphoria's official website provides the option to leave without a trace, which when clicked, deletes the site from a visitor's browser's history. Trianon, like Blueanon or QAnon, has advocated for the medical transitioning of minors and has claimed that drugs used to halt puberty are entirely reversible gender-affirming care. That's not true. That's a lie. He's gaslighting. Despite mounting evidence to the contrary and increasing criticism of the practice. In a 2021 article for Sex MED, Trianon argued that under 18s can display psychological maturity, which must be taken into account when determining the ability to consent to surgeries, and criticized pre-existing stereotypes surrounding children and teenagers that they aren't mature enough to make choices concerning themselves. Okay. That's weird because when a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old commits murder, or when those two black girls carjacked that 66-year-old Pakistani Uber Eats guy, they weren't treated as adults. They were treated as children. Oh, the poor blacks. Oh, the poor puppies, the poor Latins. They had to carjack this 66-year-old Pakistani guy because of poverty. But guys, they couldn't fully grasp that they were carjacking him because they're children. But suddenly, when children want to cut off their genitals, now they're adults. I don't understand. Either 13-year-olds can make decisions for themselves or they can't. Pick a fucking lane. When surgeries are provided to trans youth, this is generally because they have already demonstrated psychological maturity, an unfortunately subjective criterion, and have an appropriate sociological and or psychological reason for pursuing surgery before the age of majority, Trianon wrote. Generally speaking, puberty blockers are prescribed to trans youth before puberty has initiated or to those who are in the early phases of a gender dysphoric puberty. Tanner, stage 1 to stage 3, Trianon added. The Tanner scale describes varying stages of puberty, with stages 1 to 3 referring to children aged 1 year old to 15 years old. Yes, and this also happened to Jazz. Jazz was given these non-reversible puberty blockers at the age of 6, meaning when he went to get a surgery at the age of 17, to get his neovagina, his penis was too small. So it's not reversible. And this is on TLC. You can watch I Am Jazz. You can find episodes of I Am Jazz. It is well documented. I'm not saying anything that isn't public knowledge or wasn't championed on TV. Trianon is also the director of Trans Estrie, which provides trans, non-binary, and questioning people with access to products that are not widely available in the area, such as binders, packers, gaffs, and breast forms. Transiri works. Oh my God. Transiri works in partnership with a company called Banana Prosthetics to advertise prosthetic penises known euphemistically as packers, some of which are designed to resemble the genitalia of prepubescent boys and intended to be worn by very young girls. The West is dead. Young trans or non-binary boys need age-appropriate prostheses, and that's why we offer them the possibility of getting packers, stand-to-pee, and boxers that meet their needs, reads the site. We also have the possibility to order packers suitable for even younger boys. Trianon's organization invites youth to directly contact the organization to make an appointment to try on the gear available. Another sponsor link through the Trans Estrie site is Come As You Are, a sex toy retailer. The company advertises a range of vibrators, dildos, and BDSM fetish accessories. So not only do we have to cut off your parts of children, we have to keep fucking with children, keep fucking with kids. I hope people stand up one day and put you where you belong. Immediately following the cancellation of Wintermute's lecture, Trianon boasted on Facebook and referred to the OGB Alliance as one of the most dangerous anti-trans hate groups in the world. He added that he believed Wintermute spewed hate and singled out a woman by name who he had spotted wearing a shirt supportive of author J.K. Rowling. Annie Eve Collin was one of the 2 women targeted by trans activists for abuse at the event. Speaking with Redux, Collin explained that she had hoped to attend the debate with her friend Lucia. As more and more protesters started to appear, Lucia began recording their demonstration with her phone. Seeing this, one protester violently hit her arm, sending her phone flying out of her hand. Yeah, that's when you whack her back with your baton. Lucia also says that as they were leaving the building, they saw vandalism on the walls that read, "Fuck TERFs." TERF is an acronym standing for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. That is often paired with abuse or threats of violence. Lucia has since filed a police report over the incident and told Redux she was struck in an attempt to prevent her from filming Trianon, who was angrily shouting at them. Lucia noted that many protesters did not seem to be university students themselves. Yeah, they were bussed in. You don't have the balls to see who's paying for them to be bussed in, but they were bussed in. Immediately afterwards, an activist believed to be Trianon placed a bullhorn to Collin's ear and yelled, "Get out," in her face. Collin says the incident caused her to have a headache for the following 2 days. During that time, she has been receiving aggressive emails sent to her work account. Collin believes that she was attacked in part because she was wearing a sweater that read, "I heart J.K. Rowling and women, adult, female, human." However, trans activists have been harassing her since 2018 when a man with over 10,000 Facebook followers Ianek Marcel made a public post calling her a transphobe, outing her identity, and so he doxed her. Since then, numerous attempts have been made to have her employment terminated, with some going so far as to contact her supervisor. Trans activists even created a 66-page document about her filled with screenshots taken from her social media, not only in her own posts, but also to track her interactions with friends. This document, she says, was sent to her supervisors. This was also not the first time that Trianon had harassed her. Last October, Colin attended a Zoom conference presented by a person who identifies as non-binary. The theme of the talk, Collins said, was the importance of language in acknowledging non-binary status. After the presentation, Colin questioned the speaker on why this logic was not being extended to biological sex. Trianon, who also attended the Zoom conference, made a defamatory post about her on Facebook, accusing her of Zoom bombing and calling her slurs and a hate machine. As media began to report on the lecture cancellation, Trianon went to the CBC and presented himself as a victim. The T-trans is so much more vulnerable than the rest of LGB. I think there's tons of scientific evidence speaking to that, such as, well, if there's a ton of evidence, it should be easy to present, right? Trianon also took advantage of the attention drawn to the lecture cancellation to promote a crowdfunder for an organization called ASTTEQ, Action Sant Travesty at Transsexual de Quebec, which offers a youth support program for vulnerable people aged 14 to 30 and advocates for the full legalization of the prostitution industry. In addition to gender euphoria and trans estray, Trianon currently works with a group called the Quebec Trans ID Clinic, which helps individuals change their name and falsify their sex on legal documents. In December 24th post to Instagram, Trianon can be seen holding documents requesting alterations to identifying markers alongside controversial trans-identifying male Sophie Labelle. Labelle, the creator of a webcomic series entitled Assigned Male, came under intense scrutiny in 2021 for creating diaper and furry fetish art based on photographs of real infants sourced online. Last year, Redux learned that Labelle had been speaking on trans issues at elementary schools across Quebec. Fascinating. Yeah, so that's they're coming for the kids. And if anyone's new, another thing we cover is defensive gun use. This is the Gun Violence Archive. It is an independently sourced website that covers a lot of gun violence in America. And while the news will report on mass shootings, primarily the white ones, which are only about 5 to 10% of all of them, I cover the defensive uses. And as you'll see here, the 30 mass shootings, been 50 defensive uses. And sometimes the defensive uses are questionable. But we're going to move along. Here's a story that you're not going to see on ESPN. It's also apparently, anything that makes black athletes look bad. University of Alabama basketball player Darius Miles among two charged with capital murder and shooting death on the Strip. University of Alabama basketball player Darius Miles is one of two suspects charged with capital murder in a pre-dawn deadly shooting on the Strip of Tuscaloosa. It was announced Saturday the junior forward was ruled out for the season due to an ankle injury. A little more than 24 hours later, Miles was being led in handcuffs into the Tuscaloosa County Jail. Miles, 21, appeared to be crying during a perp walk and said, "I love you, and I love you more than you can imagine," several times to someone standing outside the Tuscaloosa County Jail. "Well, I wish you had that love for the girl you shot." Both Miles of Washington, D.C. and Michael Lynn Davis, so Miles Davis, are both charged in the killing of Jamia Jonah Harris, 23. "I wish you had the love for her." The shooting happened on the Strip. Neither Harris nor Davis were affiliated with the university. Boy, I love ads, don't you? And again, Stephen A. Smith or Shannon Sharp are not going to cover this story. Why? Because it makes blacks look bad.
Good nights made easy. That's totally Target.
So here's the murderer. Here's a guy who was playing basketball at a university, whole life ahead of him, and what always happens in the black community. Some words are exchanged, there's some flexing, and then just like a rap video, they pull out guns and shoot at each other. So he kills an innocent girl. I mean, I don't know her part in it, but she's dead. You know, I don't know. Maybe she called him the N-word, but you know, that's enough, right? I mean, it's enough when white people do it. White people deserve to die when they say the N-word. I wonder, did this girl call him the N-word? Was that enough for him to just kill her? I just wish I knew the rules, you know? Did you know that a black woman in America is killed every 5 hours? Did you know that? Who kills them? Just another example of you can take the regin out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of the regin. Oh, now you're crying. Look, man, you killed her. Throw away your whole career over what? You watch too many rap videos, bro. You are your friends. I don't know what to say. Like, you're hood, and you proved it. Good job. At about 1:45 a.m. Sunday, Tuscaloosa police and University of Alabama police were dispatched to the Walk of Champions. I might have to change that name. At Bryant-Denny Stadium on a shooting. A vehicle had stopped there upon sighting a University of Alabama police vehicle. Harris was dead inside the vehicle, said Tuscaloosa Violent Crimes Captain Jack Kennedy. The driver, who had not been identified, told police their vehicle had been struck by gunfire. The driver said he had returned fire in self-defense and may have struck a suspect. Okay, so that's why it's on the list here. But again, that's what he says. I don't know if that's what happened. Let's do the white thing and wait for all the facts to come out. Investigators determined that the shooting happened in the 400 block of Gray Street off of University Boulevard. Kennedy said after speaking with multiple witnesses and viewing video surveillance, they identified two suspects located and interviewed. One suspect was found to have indeed been struck by gunfire, Kennedy said, and had a non-life-threatening wound. Yeah. So you threw away your whole life over an argument. Low impulse control. Gratification deferment. This is a kid who would eat the marshmallow as soon as you walk out of the room. It appears at the time that the shooting was the result of a minor argument. That's what it always is. That occurred between the victims and suspects after they encountered each other along the strip, Kennedy said. The member agencies of the Violent Crimes Unit utilized all their resources and worked together flawlessly to bring this case to a resolution in a rapid manner, Kennedy said. Miles was on the bench during the Crimson Tide. I don't care. So you were going to a Division I college playing sports. You are literally living the fucking dream. Was this guy even on the team? Why was this guy another basketball athlete? I don't understand. When you take these kids out of the hood, and he might not even be from the hood, he might be from a nice place, but that doesn't mean anything. Even rich black people still have to be violent. Have you ever looked at Prince George's County? Did you know Prince George's County last July had... Okay, Prince George's County is a suburb right out of D.C. It's like 85% black, and the average household is $150,000 to $200,000, right? So you can't say poverty. You can't say poverty. These people make low $200,000 is the low end of the suburb of 84% black people. Yet in July last year, there were 56 carjackings in Prince George's County. So you make your parents make $200,000 and you got to go steal a car. Like, I don't understand. You think the college, like, is this guy a basketball player? Why are you hanging out with a fucking, if he's not a basketball player, I can only assume he's a thug, right? Wouldn't someone who believes in your ability, wouldn't somebody say, hey man, you're living the dream. Let's just walk away. Hey, let's not, hey, maybe we should just walk away and let cooler heads prevail. I don't know. I can't have that. Well, I hope you like looking at this picture because you're never going to fucking play basketball at Alabama again. But being black, I'm sure you'll be out of prison in 5 years. Just before the game, the school announced he'd missed the rest of the season after suffering a preseason ankle injury. He appeared in 6 games this season before being sidelined to focus on rehabbing the injured ankle. Miles's profile on the official Alabama Athletics website was no longer active. Oh, man, they dropped you like a fucking hot potato, bro. He was one of the few players from last year's team that returned as he started 2 of the 30 games played as a sophomore. On December 28th, Alabama coach Nate Oates said Miles was away from the team with a personal matter. We're not sure how long he'll be out. Oates said after Alabama beat Mississippi State in Starkville, we're supporting him through it and trying to help him through it. That's why he wasn't on the bench tonight. It's a personal matter. It's not an injury, and we're not quite sure how long he'll be out. Yeah, really? It's a personal matter? So he's allowed to miss practice? Wow. So I wonder if other athletes at other schools are allowed to miss practice. More black sounds like black privilege to me. Hey, look, maybe somebody died, maybe it was a funeral, maybe he had the I don't know, but usually when I was playing sports, I was always told, you sit on the bench, you support your teammates. Not anymore. Miles was back on the bench Saturday and celebrated with teammates after the 40-point win over LSU. UA Athletics released a statement following the announcement of Miles' arrests. First and foremost, we extend our deepest sympathies to the family and friends of the victim from last night's incident. So you couldn't even learn her name, huh? That's how fucking lazy you are. Here, let me scroll up and get her name. Her name was Jamia Jonah Harris. You couldn't even take the time to learn her fucking name. Jesus Christ. We were made aware of the recent charge against student-athlete Darius Miles, and he is no longer a member of the Alabama men's basketball team. Athletics, in conjunction with the university, is fully cooperating with this investigation. The University of Alabama released a statement Sunday evening. The University of Alabama's utmost priority is the safety and well-being of the campus community. Then why don't you have metal detectors? How did if your athlete was on the strip? I thought colleges denied you your Second Amendment right. How did one of your athletes get access to a gun? Now, again, I don't agree that colleges should be allowed to deny you your Second Amendment right. But again, you could say, oh, no guns. Well, what if he beat her to death? What if he stabbed her to death? What if he picked up a rock? At some point, we need to talk about the violence from your community. We are grieved by the incident that occurred near campus last night and extend our deepest condolences to the victim's family and friends. Again, it's been another day and you still don't know her fucking name. It's pathetic. We are grateful for the quick and thorough response of law enforcement and emergency response teams, and we will continue to fully support the ongoing investigation. We were made aware of the recent charge against student-athlete Darius Miles. He has been removed from campus and is no longer a member of the Alabama men's basketball team. The university offers comprehensive emotional and mental health support services. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. I got a lot of questions, but so there was an argument. He pulled out a gun, shot into a car. The guy in the car fired back. He's crying because no impulse control, just realized his life is ruined. Maybe you should have been hanging out with somebody who tried to stop you from ruining your life. Again, is this guy a basketball player? Was he a thug? Are you hanging around with thugs? Why are you hanging around with people from you're different, bro. You escaped the hood. Who's that black speaker? Who's that black speaker? The hip hop preacher, right? Right? What's his name? The hip hop preacher, Eric Thomas. He says the worst thing in the world for a black kid is not to escape the ghetto. The worst thing for a black kid in the world is to go to the ghetto, go to a college for 4 years, live live a life that's bigger and better than like 99% of everyone else in this country. And then after it's all over, you go back to the ghetto, right? Well, you have it worse. You're now going to prison. Okay. And a couple more self defense. Got some videos here, and then Big Time will be out.
At WP Engine, we power your freedom
Yeah,
to
sorry, I
create
can't really do anything
online.
about the ads.
Built
And we're tracking breaking news this morning. A 28-year-old man is in critical condition after an overnight shooting in the 700 block of North Broadway. The incident happened around 1:30 this morning, and details are limited at this hour. We know no arrests have been made, but this is a developing story. We will bring you more information as it becomes available.
Yeah, so the information they have here. Officers found an employee attempting to help the suspect who had 2 gunshot wounds to his upper body. He was taken to the hospital with serious injuries, none of which were life-threatening. The suspect underwent surgery and is currently stable. Here we go. Context clue. How do I know he's black? During their investigation, police found out that the suspect had argued with 2 employees after he was asked to leave the business. Which group of people can you not tell to leave or say no to? He refused to leave and began to attack the employees. I want to see the mugshot. I'm 99.9% sure. One employee had a handgun and fired at the suspect after the person started attacking him a second time. The victims are being completely cooperative with police. The investigation is ongoing. Told to leave, and he starts to beat up one of the employees. Wow. But guys, it's working, right? And our last story, last offensive gun use.
An investigation is underway after a shooting sent one person to the hospital early this morning. It happened on the 5500 block of Sea Spray Court.
That is a very fat cop. I honestly, how did you pass the physical requirements to do this job? Can you even stand up fast? Jesus. I would not expect you to save anybody, not even be able to save yourself.
In the Shadow Lake subdivision in Gulf Breeze, the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office says a person came to a home to start an argument with a homeowner. Deputies say a man tried to enter the house and the homeowner shot him through the front door. The sheriff's office says the man shot is in stable condition at the hospital. Deputies say the man who was shot has trespassed at the residence before and could face charges. After the incident, deputies searched the home and say what they found could lead to future charges.
So it sounds like Castle Doctrine to me. So he shot him through the door. Okay. Looks like he tried to attempt his way through the door. Is that a footprint? Okay, so just from looking at this, it sounds like they were arguing through the door. The guy outside the door starts to kick the door. Looks like he started to damage the door. And then the homeowner shot him through the door. I give it a pass. Hey, you don't want to get shot? Don't break into people's homes. I love Castle Doctrine. So anyway, I'm Big Time. That's news to me.